So hopefully we've caught up and the numbers are correct, but I think this would be about video 9. Again, I'm trying to catch up to the fact that I've lost a couple of videos. I don't know if I'll be able to go back and do them or what I'll do. But anyway, we're going to focus on blanket stitch wheel, and we're going to look at this anchor. So welcome back to the next segment with the Southeastern Quilt and Textile Museum and myself, your stitching host, Laura Bosma, Pretty Penny Precuts. We thank you for joining us for our Stay at Home and Stitch summer camp. The projects there are 4 of them, Fun in the Sun, and this is Project 2, Sun and Sail. I want to show you the blanket stitch wheel. I'm not sure how my videos went. There might have been a little bit of corruption in 1 or 2 of them. I've already stitched this one. I've already stitched this one. This is the finished project. But I'm going to go on and stitch the one on the anchor. I'm going to change color of thread so you can see what I'm doing. So again, you've got 9 different skeins of floss in your kits, for your kits. And technically, you know, the gray is meant to go. It's kind of a blue-gray over the anchor. But so that you can see what I'm doing, I'm actually going to go ahead and stitch the anchor in our ecru or off-white thread. And I'm going to focus on doing a blanket stitch wheel here, just so I'm sure that you could see what I was doing. So anytime you've got a circular element, you've got to decide how you're going to treat it. I like the idea of a blanket stitch wheel where the spokes go all the way into the center. So that's what I'm going to focus on here. So come up, I'm going to come up right at the base of the circle. I'm right here. And just realize anytime you're stitching in a circle, you need to really keep those stitches close together. So where sometimes you can get away with, you know, 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch apart with your blanket stitches, this one probably needs to legitimately be at about a 1/16 of an inch, somewhere between an 1/8 and a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to eyeball where I think the center is and call that good enough. I'm going to go in at the center. I'm going to go back underneath everything to the blue, and I'm going to again be about an 1/8 of an inch from where my thread started and where my needle's coming up. On the back side again, you can see I went in at the center, I'm going underneath it, and then I'm coming back up at the blue. Remember with the blanket stitch, you're always keeping a circle and your needle is always coming up through that circle. And then I'm going to put the next one in. You know, technically I do try to not go through my previous stitches, so I don't want to put my needle exactly into the white part, but I want to be a thread or 2 away from it, you know, a little wool fiber or 2 away from it. And then you're just going to put that on repeat. You're going to continue to go around the circle, coming up at the perimeter right next to the gray, but you're not through the gray at the outside edge. And you're just going to keep going around. Again, keep those stitches somewhere between a 1/16 and an 1/18 of an inch apart, or an 1/8 of an inch apart. That's pretty close, I do realize that. But the reason you're doing that is because you're asking something that by nature is actually a rather linear, straight-edged kind of stitch. You're asking it to turn. And the only way you can get it to turn is to keep those stitches close together. And I'll repeat that, you know, in a couple of things that we do throughout the project, probably more so in Project 3. But you'll just go all the way around. So let me see if I can speed up a little bit. Again, it's not easy for me to go fast for some reason. So in at the center, underneath everything, out to the side. I'm coming up through the blue each and every time. All right, now notice if I stop there, I've got this little V portion that's kind of missing stitches. So my eye is going to try to draw an imaginary circle right above this portion of the anchor. So I'm going to go in at the center. I'm going to actually come up through the gray, trying to complete that circle all the way back around to where I started. So I think I need to do just one more stitch. And then I'm going to go to the wrong side. I'm going to hop over the leg, or over the stitch of where I started, just so that it looks connected. So it looks connected all the way around. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of blanket stitching. I hope you don't mind. Again, I'm afraid I lost a video segment in there somewhere potentially. So I'm just going to come up right next to the ending of my blanket stitch wheel. Remember, you're drawing that imaginary circle. I'm going to take a bite into the gray and out at the blue, and just continue, keep on going until I get all the way around. There's beauty and sometimes not so much beauty in using truly contrasting threads, which is what I'm doing here so you can see it. If you love the look, absolutely go for it. If your stitches are a little uneven, they're going to be enhanced, meaning it's going to show more because there's such a difference in the color between what you're stitching on and what you're stitching with, as in the floss. I do want to show you a corner, and I'm at a corner right here. So I'm going almost exactly where the original leg was, and I'm going to come back out at about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to take one tiny little stitch through the blue, through behind the thread to really hold that corner down, and then I'm going to go one more time almost exactly where those other two stitches are and come out to the edge. And then I describe when I do a corner like that as being something like a chicken toe, where you have a stitch straight, you have a stitch diagonal, and then you have a stitch straight again. So that's what you're going to be doing. So again, you've completed 3 blanket stitch wheels, blanket stitch here, blanket stitch around there, blanket stitch around the anchor, and blanket stitch around the hull of the boat, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. I'll see you in the next segment.